Hey, what's up? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'm talking to Chef Phillip Frankland Lee, the chef and owner-operator of Scratch Restaurants. Let's go. Phillip Frankland Lee. But your friends call you Phillip?
That's
or
right.
They call you, does anyone call you Phil?
No, well, sometimes. I don't really. My mom, when I was growing up, would always correct anyone who called me Phil.
Right.
Her father was Phil, and so it's like for her, it was like, my dad's Phil, my son is Phillip.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very specific to call someone Phil.
Yeah.
You have to really want to be called Phil.
Maybe in like 20 years, I'll be Phil.
Yeah,
You know, Phil's an older dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I did the intro. For everybody listening, Phillip is a incredible chef and restaurateur of probably like my favorite group of restaurants.
Thank you.
Like period.
Thank you.
I definitely like to eat, but I think we started going to your restaurant, Scratch Kitchen in Encino first.
Yeah.
And that's where we met.
Yeah, that was what, like probably
Years ago.
6-7 years ago, probably.
Yeah. And then you opened Sushi Bar like right around, not too much longer after that, right?
Yeah. So, well, the original Scratch Bar opened in 2013 in our apartment. Then moved to Beverly Hills. Then we moved to the current location in Encino where we met 2015. And then Sushi Bar, which now is Sushi by Scratch Restaurants, long story, that opened in end of 2016, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe beginning of 2017.
Okay. So how did you start in your apartment? What was that?
So basically, back in 2012, I took over a restaurant in Toluca Lake called D Cache as the executive chef. And it was my first executive chef job. And this restaurant had been around for 30 years, something like that, 20, 30 years. And we like 3-4 months in, we like won like best new restaurant and shit like that. And apparently if you get a new chef and you change it, even though you've been around, you're still re-eligible. And so one of the regulars there approached me and he was like, yo, I love what you've done to this place. And he asked if he could hire me to consult at his little restaurant over in Hollywood. It was like a coffee shop that served like breakfast and lunch. And so I was like, yeah, I'll come check it out. And so I went and looked. It was this little coffee shop. It was open from like 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. They did breakfast. They did a little lunch. They had a cool little kitchen, little bar set up. And the guy was like, at the end of the day, he goes, so what do you think? Are you interested? And I said, yeah, I'm very interested. And he goes, well, what do you want me to pay you for it? And I said, I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, no, I'll consult. I'll redo your thing. You don't have to pay me anything. But here's what I do want. Your place closes at 3 o'clock every day. I just want to have access to it after that. So I want to open a fine dining restaurant in your coffee shop starting at 5 p.m. every day. So you get me and my crew. We do everything you want. So you get everything you want. But instead of me paying rent, I just get to run my own business at night.
So you started, I mean, that to me, I just gonna highlight this for any maybe entrepreneurs listening. That kind of trade is very common, I've found, with people who really, I think, believe in themselves, and I think also understand long-term value of things, like the opportunity to have a space. You calculate that really quickly, and you go, I don't have startup money. I can't go and get a space. I'll trade. I'll trade my work for his space. That kind of trade, I've found, we did that a lot in the early days. We would just trade people. It's very common with people who have like really long-term goals, is understanding that value of the long term.
Yeah, I mean, it's that, but it's also like it's also the I don't give a shit about the now. I mean, maybe I was too young to like, it's not like I game planned it out, but it was like, I don't need anything to really live.
Right, I just need to get my foot in the door.
Yeah, it's not about making money. It was about having a place to have my own restaurant. And so, we did it. We made this deal. We got open.
And what was that restaurant?
That was Scratch Bar.
Okay, that was Scratch Bar.
So Scratch Bar, and then when we moved it to Encino years later, we changed the name to Scratch Bar and Kitchen.
Right.
And so basically we ran this thing for a couple months. We got all these accolades and everything. And then I used to be way more of a hothead than I am now as a grown up. But this dude comes to me, maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks in and goes, so because I was running the restaurant 4 nights a week. I was running his thing every morning, the restaurant 4 nights a week. But it was like a 20-course tasting menu. That was it. It was super, and
was it like a Wednesday to Saturday type thing?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And so then he comes to me and he goes, hey, so what do you think about like maybe moving your dinner thing to like just Friday and Saturday so you can focus more on the morning? And long story short, I end that conversation by just saying, fuck you, and walking out.
Okay.
And so,
well, I think we've all been in our younger years especially when we're hyper focused.
Yeah, I mean, I was 25 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like,
life teaches us though.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays I would have probably, but then again, like I am where I am today, and I'm happy. So you got to go through those things.
Yeah.
But so walk out. It was a Saturday night after service. We had this conversation, so it was like, fuck. What are we going to do now? Because we're sold out for the next like 3 weeks, and I got no restaurant now. So, Margarita, my wife, it was her and I and a couple buddies. I mean, we started this thing like a band.
Right.
We really did. Like,
and you started in bands, which I want to get to, but you started playing music, and I wonder if any of that taught you how to
100%
how to run a group. But
100%.
Yeah.
This was like having a residency, and the promoter now he's like, how about I just don't pay you anymore?
Right.
Or how about you only do this? Like, no, fuck you. I'll go play somewhere else.
Right.
So we leave, and so we have basically the weekend before our next sold out thing. And so we convert our 1-bedroom apartment into a 20-seat restaurant in West Hollywood. And so we just go on Craigslist. We find like free tables, free folding chairs.
How the hell is that even possible?
Well, it's possible. Legal, different matter, but possible. I mean, I've always had this idea that if you just refuse to lose, then you won't.
Yeah.
That probably comes from, my DIY hardcore punk rock days. It's like, nah, fuck you. We're just going to do it.
Yeah.
And so we turn our apartment into this like 20, 30 seat restaurant. We're doing like 50, 60 covers a night. And one of my guys, we're in West Hollywood, so you need a parking permit. So one of my guys, we get him a little orange vest. He's parking people's cars, letting them into the apartment complex.
Unreal.
And right on Crescent Heights in between Sunset and Fountain. Like,
I know that block. That's was it that old building, that historic looking?
Right across the street. So it's next door to like that, that huge temple.
Yeah.
There's that huge temple, and then right north of that, the very next little building right there.
What do your neighbors in the apartment say at the time?
I mean, we didn't tell anyone. We didn't really give a shit.
Wow.
We walked them from the front. We had an apartment in the back, and we just fucking did our thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so we did that for a couple of weeks until one of our guests who was dining there was like, this is crazy. He's like, I'm from London. This reminds me of like the punk rock underground scene in like the 80s.
Yeah.
He's like, I own a restaurant space in Beverly Hills on Restaurant Row. He's like, if you want, we'll go 50-50. You can take what you're doing and you can open there next week. And so boom, now we're next door to Matsuhisa on Restaurant Row.
Wow. So the thing that I hear there that you just said, that refusing to lose attitude, I always say like, just keep going forward.
Yeah.
Keep taking this step in front of you.
Yeah.
That's available. Whatever step's available in front of me, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get stuck in some, I think sometimes we get stuck in this idea of where we want to be and what we're going to be, but we don't give credit to all the steps we have to take to get there.
Yeah.
And what that feels like in real time is just really hard. It's just figuring it out. And I feel like that's such a good story of someone that's like, we got 3 weeks of reservations. We'll do it in the apartment. And then within those 3 weeks, you're obviously scanning the environment for the next opportunity. You're obviously trying to solve for the current problem, which is how long until we get busted in this apartment.
I mean, I've never been a dude where it's like, hold on, let me find a solution before I move forward. It's like, it's like running and gunning and having enough faith that you will make it. And there may not be, like you were just saying, like always take the next step. Sometimes the next step might not be visible.
It's blind.
So you just fucking keep running anyways because you have that faith.
And use the resources available to you until you have more resources.
Yeah.
And like, that's the other thing is I think sometimes entrepreneurs and guys like us, we're, whatever you want to call us entrepreneurs is a broad word for us. But it's like self-starting, self-reliant, imaginative guys who want to make things.
Yeah.
I think some people want to gather resources first, which it doesn't always make sense when you're trying to create something. And what I find with your restaurants and all the experience I have there is there's a bit of like a organic, a homey feel to it.
Yeah.
That feels like it was grown.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't constructed on paper first and then gone out and, built from like a plan, more like
there wasn't like a big time producer who like selected the boy band and then created it, which is what a lot of restaurants really are.
Right. Exactly. And it's like, it's a bunch of money raised and this and that. Now it's at some point when you're us and we've been building businesses for 10, 15 years, probably around the same time you started your restaurants, I was starting my businesses when I decided to stop touring and making records and just like focus on being home with my wife and kids and figure out a way to work here, which is for me, it's music. So I'm building businesses in and around the music business.
That's amazing.
But it's just the same. Figure it out. Like here, we have an idea that we love. We have a passion to do it. Let's not go raise a bunch of money and try to like sell this big dream. Let's plant some things in the garden and grow them.
But a lot of people aren't willing to just go play backyard shows and sleep on the floor for years until it happens.
For years.
But I did that for most of my teenage years.
Right.
So I wasn't afraid I don't need to have the money to go start in arenas. I was cool to just go play house shows.
Right.
And that's literally what the restaurant was a house show. We were basically played in a coffee shop until we got kicked out of the coffee shop and went to our apartment.
Yep. So before we get to where the next part of the restaurant journey from you moved to Beverly Hills and you open your first maybe like official spot.
Yeah.
Go back to where you grew up.
Yeah. So,
and then how you got into music and then how you got into cooking.
Yeah. So I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. And
what area?
Van Nuys,
cool.
Tarzana, Encino, Sherman Oaks.
Cool.
And my father was a record producer.
Okay.
So I got my first drum set when I was 18 months old.
Wow.
And so I've been playing drums pretty much there's 3 things I know how to do. I got my first chef's knife for my 3rd birthday.
Wow.
I got my first drum set when I was 18 months old, and I learned math with playing cards. So I can play poker, I can cook, and I can play drums. So those are the 3 things I'm good at.
Who got you the drums?
My dad.
Who got you the knife?
So my dad got me the knife. I think the drums were probably my mom. I'm not really sure. I think it's probably both.
Right.
But I know like the drums were left in the studio by Simple Mind. And
wow.
So that was my first Slingerland kit when I was a kid. And that was like a gift to me, but it was too big. So then I think my mom went out and got me like a little, baby drum set. Mm-hmm. And then grandma taught me how to count with like, here's a 2 and a 3, and that equals a 5.
Right.
You count the suits on there. And that's how I learned how to count.
Wow. And so I take it your parents really believe in you.
I think so.
Right.
I think they can see now that there was a lot of impact. I mean, now that I have a daughter, it's like, I'm like, okay, so what am I going to get her?
Right.
Because I don't know how often that happens for most people, but for me, like the first 3 things I received are the 3 things that I'm good at in life.
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
It is. It really is. I mean, of course, I also I got a keyboard at some point.
Yeah.
I got rollerblades at some point. I mean, it's not like those are the only 3 things I ever got.
Are you a phenomenal rollerblader as well?
I'm an amazing rollerblader.
So I'm pretty good too, actually. A little known fact. Rollerblades are underrated in my opinion, and they're socially. I feel like rollerblades should be more accepted. Don't you feel like this should
I
be
mean,
more accepted?
rollerblading was something like when I was.
Come on.
I mean, I was definitely into rollerblading before I was into skateboarding.
Right.
But then, as
Roller
a rite
hockey.
of passage, in order to be into skateboarding, you had to disown rollerblading.
Yeah, you
it was
can't
like it was
skate.
like, or you don't have your
Yeah.
skate card anymore.
That was the case for me because I skated too.